Most people want success. They want better habits, more confidence, more discipline, more money, and better results. But many people keep trying to change their life without changing the patterns that control their life. And that is why they stay stuck. They want better results, but they keep thinking the same way. They want a better future, but they keep repeating the same habits. They want success, but their mind is still trained for distraction, fear, inconsistency, and short-term comfort. So in this video, I want to talk about how to rewire your brain for success. Not in some strange or mystical way, but in a practical way. We are going to talk about why your brain tends to repeat old patterns, what kinds of thinking keep people stuck, and what you can actually do to start building a stronger inner life that supports success instead of sabotaging it. And before we continue, please subscribe, like this video, and leave a comment below. That really helps us grow the channel and helps more people find simple lessons on business, money, and personal growth without the hype. Let's start with the first big truth. Your brain is always learning patterns. It learns from what you repeat. It learns from what you focus on. It learns from what you tolerate. And it learns from what you do again and again. That means your life is not shaped only by your goals. It is shaped by your repeated thoughts, repeated choices, and repeated habits. That is important because many people think change happens mainly through motivation. They say, I just need to feel more motivated. I need the right moment. I need a fresh start. But real change usually does not come from one emotional moment. Real change comes from repetition. Your brain gets wired through repetition. If you repeat distraction, your brain gets better at distraction. If you repeat quitting, your brain gets better at quitting. If you repeat fear, avoidance, and excuses, those become more natural. But the good news is this. If you repeat discipline, focus, courage, and better thinking, those also become more natural. That is where rewiring begins. Now let's be clear. When we talk about rewiring your brain for success, we're really talking about changing patterns. Patterns of thought, patterns of emotion, patterns of action. Because success is not usually destroyed by one giant mistake. It is more often weakened by daily patterns that look small but repeat constantly. For example, waking up and immediately reaching for your phone, avoiding hard tasks, constantly telling yourself that you are behind, saying yes to things you should say no to, spending emotionally, starting things but not finishing them, thinking short-term all the time. These things may seem small, but repeated patterns become powerful. That is why successful people often do not only have better goals, they have better internal patterns. So what are some of the patterns that do not lead to success? The first one is negative self-talk. A lot of people are quietly training their brain for failure by the way they speak to themselves. They say things like, I'm always bad with money. I never stay disciplined. I can't focus. I'm just not successful. I always mess things up. Now that may feel honest in the moment, but repeated negative self-talk becomes mental training. Your brain listens, and over time, your identity starts to follow your repeated language. That is why one of the first ways to rewire your brain is to change the way you speak to yourself. This does not mean fake positivity. It means truthful, disciplined language. Instead of saying, I always fail, say, I have failed before, but I can improve. Instead of saying, I'm bad with money, say, I need better money habits, and I can build them. Instead of saying, I can't do this, say, this is hard, but I can learn. That shift matters, because your inner language shapes your inner world. The second pattern that must change is instant gratification. Your brain naturally likes comfort. It likes easy pleasure. It likes quick reward. That is why so many people know what they should do, but still choose what feels easier in the moment. They choose scrolling over studying, spending over saving, avoiding over acting, comfort over growth. Success usually requires the ability to delay immediate reward for long-term gain. That is a mental skill, and mental skills can be trained. One simple way to do that is to practice small acts of self-control every day. Finish one task before checking your phone. Wait before buying something emotional. Do one hard thing early in the day. Keep one promise to yourself daily. These things may seem small, but they teach your brain an important lesson. I am not controlled by every impulse. The third pattern you need to change is mental passivity. A passive mind reacts. An active mind leads. A passive mind says, let's see how I feel. Maybe later. I hope things change. I'll start when life calms down. An active mind says, what matters most today? What is my next step? What do I need to do even if I do not feel like it? A lot of people are waiting for life to push them forward. But success usually grows when people become more intentional. That is why one of the best ways to rewire your brain is to start your day with direction instead of reaction. Do not begin every morning with messages, noise, and random input. Start with a clear thought, a priority, a purpose, a plan. That helps train your mind for leadership instead of drift. The fourth pattern that needs rewiring is fear-based thinking. Fear says, what if I fail? What if people judge me? What if I'm not good enough? What if this doesn't work? Now, fear is normal. Everyone feels it. But some people obey fear, while others keep moving with wisdom. That is the difference. Success does not require the absence of fear. It requires a better response to fear. One of the best ways to rewire fear is to stop making everything bigger in your mind than it really is. Break things down. Instead of saying, what if I fail at business? Ask, what is one small business action I can take this week? Instead of saying, what if people reject me? Ask, what useful offer can I make to one real person? Small action weakens fear, because fear grows in avoidance, but it often shrinks in action. Now let's talk about how to actually rewire your brain in practical terms. The first method is repetition with intention. You do not change your brain by hearing one good idea. You change it by repeating better patterns. That means repeat better thoughts, repeat better habits, repeat better routines, repeat better choices. This is why daily routines matter so much. If every day begins with chaos, reaction, and distraction, your brain becomes more comfortable there. But if your day begins with calm, clarity, and intentional action, your brain starts adjusting to that too. The second method is environmental design. Your brain responds to environment more than many people realize. If your environment is full of distraction, noise, temptation, and disorder, your mind has to work much harder to stay strong. So make success easier. Put your phone farther away when you work. Keep your workspace clean. Remove distractions before they control you. Create visible cues for your next right action. Successful people often look disciplined, but very often they also build environments that support discipline. The third method is identity change. This is huge. If you still see yourself as lazy, scattered, unsuccessful, or inconsistent, then your brain keeps trying to act in line with that identity. So instead of only focusing on what you want to do, start focusing on who you want to become. Not just, I want to save money, but I am becoming a person who handles money wisely. Not just, I want to be more focused, but I am becoming a focused person. Not just, I want success, but I am becoming the kind of person who can handle success. Identity shapes action, and action reinforces identity. That is one of the strongest loops in personal growth. The fourth method is feeding your mind better material. Your brain is being shaped every day by what you consume. If you constantly feed it negativity, comparison, fear, empty entertainment, and mental junk, do not be surprised if your mindset becomes weak and distracted. But if you feed it clarity, wisdom, strong ideas, and better patterns, your thinking improves. That is why books, podcasts, good conversations, and intentional learning matter. A few practical books that connect well with this topic are Atomic Habits by James Clear, Mindset by Carol Dweck, The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel, and Deep Work by Cal Newport. Not because books magically change your life, but because better input helps create better thinking. Now let's bring this together. If you want to rewire your brain for success, you need to stop waiting for motivation and start training new patterns. That means changing your inner language, practicing delayed gratification, becoming more intentional, acting in spite of fear, repeating better habits, designing a better environment, and building a stronger identity. That is how rewiring happens. Slowly, practically, repeatedly. And that is important because real success is usually not one big breakthrough. It is the result of better patterns repeated long enough to create a different life. So here is the bottom line. You do not build a successful life only by wanting success. You build it by training your mind to support the kind of life you say you want. And that means changing what you repeat. Because whatever you repeat, you reinforce. So here is your action step. Choose one pattern in your life that clearly does not support success. Maybe it is distraction. Maybe it is fear. Maybe it is self-doubt. Maybe it is reacting emotionally. Maybe it is quitting too early. Write it down. Then choose one better replacement pattern and practice it every day for the next 7 days. That is where real change begins. Not in one emotional moment, but in repeated daily rewiring. If this video helped you, subscribe to Business Made Simple, like the video, and leave a comment below telling me which mental pattern do you think holds most people back from success today. That really helps us grow the channel, and I appreciate it. Thanks for watching.